If anyone at karaoke tells you that you should sing Whitney or Mariah, they're lying to you. But thank you. Reach companies, great to have them here. Really, your feedback is needed at Reach, whether you're coming in as a mentor, whether you're just giving them feedback on what technology companies are doing. MLS in particular is one of the hardest things to understand in this industry, and the more you can be involved with them and make sure that these new tech companies avoid some of the mistakes they might make, the more that you're gonna have better relationships with those new prop tech companies. So we've got more prop tech coming up right now in the AI space with a creative title from our friends here. Because what we do at RESO is not just about property listings, active properties for sale. There's roster data. There's things we can do with our data in customer service and policies and bylaws all across MLS and broker systems. So we have Jim Yockel coming from Rochester, and we have Kurtis Cicalo from Voiceflip. Welcome.
I'll stand away from you.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Yockel, and I've been coming to these many years, but this is the first time I'm on stage, so I'm really excited to be on stage in front of you all. Louder. Oh. Mic on? No?
Can you guys hear me? Oh, yeah.
Hey, all right.
All right. I don't know Jim's part of the presentation, so.
All right.
But while we're waiting, my karaoke songs, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. Just, yeah.
Whoever gave you that advice might be lying to you also. How's that? All right, cool. So what I was saying is I'm really excited to be here. I've been to many of these conferences, never been on stage, and Kurtis and I are thrilled to be talking to you about RD. RD is a member service, member support game changer, and I'm gonna tell you kind of how we got here. Kurtis is gonna tell you how it works, but pay attention because we are, you've heard throughout the day, we are in a position where we need to actually prove our value every single day to our brokers, agents, our partners, and RD can help you do it. So the basic premise is, for many, many years, everybody in this room has resources, reference documents, policies, procedures, videos, training materials, support materials, and they've been created over many years by many different people in many different formats, and it's hard to access them. Nobody wants to go to a website. You get like 30 seconds on a website with people, and if they can't find what they want, they're gone and they may never come back. So what we're trying to provide answers, not access to resources that someone then has to read. So a couple years ago, we hired a director of innovation, and his charge was look at us internally and find ways we can do better using technology. One of the things he found was Kurtis. And Kurtis has this great tool. So we wanted to streamline this process of providing really quick answers to our members, wherever they are, whenever they are, however they like to reach it. So the first phase was, how do we answer these endless, repetitive inquiries? How do we save our staff from answering the same question over and over, day after day? It takes a ton of time, and it keeps them from providing higher value service to our members. And it's frustrating because if someone calls and they don't get an answer right away, they're kind of out of luck. So we put all of our resources into this magic little tool we call RD, and now our members through voice, through text, through Facebook Messenger, through web app, through WhatsApp, can ask any normal question that they would ask our staff 24 hours a day in 25 languages and get an instant answer. And it has been amazing. So far, are you gonna talk about our stats at all? Do you have a slide? Okay, so 25% of our members have used it in the last 5 months. And the average person asks 8 or 9 questions. So when you think about, we have 3,000 members, but I think like most of you, half of them aren't really engaged day to day in this business. If you think that about half of our members are active, and you're talking about close to 50% of your active members using a tool and using it 20 times in the last couple months, that's a real improvement to our member service. And we could, I could tell you offline about the off hours use. It's been amazing. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna let Kurtis tell you how it works, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about where we're going in the future.
You missed a whole slide. Oh, that's okay.
Oh. All right, go ahead. Want me to talk about how our members staff? One of the key things, our staff at first was a little concerned when we said, hey, we're going to launch this AI tool. It's going to answer all these questions for you. And they went, are you getting rid of us? And the clear answer is no, absolutely not. We are not trying to replace anybody. We are trying to give them higher value things. Nobody wants to sit there and say, when's the next Code of Ethics class 800 times because it's December of the Code of Ethics cycle. So once we proved that that was the case, they love it. And now, instead of answering those questions, they're developing new resources. And I'll talk about those in a few minutes. Some of the members asked the same thing. Does this mean you're getting rid of staff? And the answers are clear, no. We're gonna have staff do better things for you so they can spend more time for you on the really complicated things instead of having to kind of shove you off the phone so they can go answer, when's the next ethics class?
Thanks, Jim. All right, so I'm gonna talk about how we built Arty. So when we were first trying to build this tool, we had this very simple formula in our head, is that if we could build something that was really accurate, like 100% accurate, 99.99% accurate, and quick, that we'd get engagement from it, and that would cause member adoption, which in turn would cause a successful product, right? So with this in mind, we set about evaluating some technologies to build Arty. So the first technology we evaluated was large language models. So I like to compare large language models to a cow that's being overfed and fed and fed and fed and fed and fed and fed. You're gonna get some probably great meat out of it, like great marbling. It's gonna grill up super nice. But ultimately, you're gonna be left with a giant pile of manure. And that manure is all the biases it absorbs, the outdated information, the inaccuracies it absorbs, and then also the hallucinations. You know, the best large language model is only about 80% accurate. So if you're gonna answer 10,000 inquiries a month, you're putting out 2,000 incorrect inquiries, right? That's not acceptable, I think, in any industry, but especially in this industry. We have a history of lawsuits, so not great if you're putting out wrong information. So we threw large language models out the window. The next technology we looked at was RAG systems. So Dan Troop and the guys from Broker Public Portal talked about RAG earlier today. It stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's basically a database controlled by an LLM. Agentic RAG is multiple databases controlled by multiple LLMs or AI agents. So we looked at RAG. It looked really great for us, but we ran into some issues. We bring in roughly 20 different document types. Then we bring in data from APIs, different endpoints, and a whole bunch of other things, real-time data. And that caused bottlenecks when we tried to scale it up to like the 10,000 questions a day. It kind of just, you know, the system came to a standstill. So we didn't have that speed thing. Accuracy was still there, but the speed didn't happen. RAG was also a couple issues with the integrations. If we wanted to integrate with MLS systems and association systems, it was going to cost us a whole ton of money to build these custom integrations out for every association MLS, which wasn't a scalable product for us. It didn't work out. And then accuracy-wise, our RAG system was about 90% accurate, which again wasn't good enough for us. So let's look under the hood at how we built Arty. So we went beyond agentic RAG with Arty, and what we did is we built a micro model service. So everyone here is probably familiar with microservices when you're building web applications. We took that same concept and applied it to language models and AI models. They're basically super intelligent little dummies. So think of that one friend you know that knows everything about like Magic the Gathering, but really can't hold a conversation about anything else. Those are micro models. They're very good at one specific task, but they don't know anything else about any other task. So essentially what we did is we built a series of micro models that surround our agentic RAG system, sorry, that clean, standardize, and tokenize the data, any data set that comes through, to make it usable, make it quick, and make it accurate. So let's quickly look at Arty's framework. So if you look at the left side of your screen here, you're going to see our data integration layer, where we bring in documents, like structured and unstructured documents, external APIs. We scrape our customers' websites. We have ticketing system integration, MCP servers, which stands for Model Context Protocol servers. Streaming data from like phone calls, Blue Sky feeds, and Twitter feeds. And then a user feedback loop to improve the system as we go. That all feeds into our data ingestion engine, which then cleans the data, standardizes the data, and tokenizes the data. That then goes to another hidden enrichment layer, which is like IP protected, so we can't talk about it, which then creates our client's knowledge base. That knowledge base powers Arty, and Arty does a bunch of cool things with like external tools and queries and, you know, other fun stuff, right? So whenever data, what we're going to talk about today in detail is the data cleaning, standardization, and tokenization. So whenever data comes through our system, it runs through these sets of models. I'm not going to talk about each one, but the upscaling model, for example, takes low-resolution documents and upscales them so they're usable through the rest of the system. The visual language model looks at the layout of a PDF and not just the content of a PDF, because layout is just as important in a PDF document as the content. The duplication model will find duplicate information and remove it because it speeds up our system by milliseconds, which milliseconds count. The contradiction detection model will scan multiple documents and pull out contradictory information out of them, so we're not feeding the wrong information to your clients. And then,
before you, can I say something on this? Because bringing this back to kind of the real day and the live usage of this, two of these are really super important. So I mentioned the various types of documents and the various authors of those documents. The standardization piece, when we first started talking to Sam about doing this session, the conversation was, how does this relate to standards? I'm going to suggest RD almost supersedes standards, because you don't have to take anything and put it into a common format so that you can get the right answer out. This, that whole last slide that I don't understand leads to here, everything comes in. Doesn't matter what the fonts are or the styles or anything. You put something in and then just ask a natural language question and already does all of the work. So we don't have to worry about standardizing things and mapping something to another thing so that you can get it out somewhere else. And day to day, I think that's super important, because we don't want our staff spending time standardizing things to get into a tool. We want them creating new stuff that can make the tool exponentially better, which we'll talk about in a minute.
yeah, for sure. So an example of standardization, we've had the privilege of looking at CE courses across multiple association websites, and none of them are the same anywhere. And the way we get delivered that information is not the same through any association MLS. Some we scan their website and crawl through the website. Some is delivered through APIs. Some people give us the data in PDF format. I would not recommend, but it happens. So what we've had to do, the standardization models had to take that and basically standardize a way to ingest CE courses so that it's quicker for us to answer, right? We can't scan 400 documents of CE courses and pull the right information. It has to go into a standardized model that RD can then use to pull out quick and accurate information. Another example, Jim, I guess, and GRAR has noticed an uptick in people asking questions about the ability to have backyard chickens. So his staff, now that they're not answering phone calls, has gone out and actually found information regarding backyard chickens. How many backyard chickens can I have? So the first time that a document is uploaded for backyard chickens, it came through our model, hit the standardization model, and our model's like, that's cool. It's a one-off document, so I'm just going to store it over here. It's good. The next time Jim's staff uploaded a backyard chicken document, which sounds weird to say, a backyard chicken document, it got to our standardization model, and the standardization model said, hey, look, I noticed some key data points here that are the same between this document and the old one. It's that I can see the town name, I can see the backyard size you need, I can see the size of the chicken coop you need, I can see how many chickens you're allowed having. I can maybe start to standardize this, right? So it keeps that in mind. The third document that gets uploaded goes through our system, it gets to the standardization model, and they're like, well, this document has the same data points as all the rest, so we can create a standard for this. And now we can access it super quickly. So any document from backyard chickens, regarding backyard chickens, we can now standardize and deliver quick, accurate answers to members, which it seems crazy, but a lot of GRAR members ask about backyard chickens. It's, yeah. So that is essentially how RD works. So like our key thing is the way we standardize data, right? We bring any data source in and we find a way to standardize it if there's enough documents that have the same data points, which gives us quick, accurate information. So our accuracy, I mentioned with LLMs is about 80%, with RAG systems about 90%. Using this process of micromodels, we get about 99.99% accuracy. We have not had hallucination yet, which we're super happy about. And we deliver answers incredibly fast to members, cutting phone calls by like 50% roughly. So yeah. So I'm going to hand it back to Jim now. He's going to tell you about the future of RD at GRAR, and where we go next.
So I'm going to bring it back up a little bit. For those of you who want to know exactly how it works under the hood, there you go. For me, day to day, providing value to our agents is the number one thing. So yeah, answering the common repetitive questions, getting staff out of that is really helpful, and it creates more time, and it makes us a better service company. But looking forward, the question is now, what do we do now that this is built, and where does it go from here? So very quickly, when we were talking to our members, they started asking slightly different things. Some of them want to know about themselves, and so we're building an API into our membership database so they can ask questions about themselves. Some of them want to know about something from the MLS, so we can build an API into the MLS and get that information. But the real game changer in my mind is adding data sets that are really hard and complex that nobody has already. So a bunch of years ago, we had problems with for sale sign ordinances were very different across our region. We were in 13 counties, 314 towns. So we had a staff member create a giant spreadsheet of the for sale sign regulation in every town in our service area. So when we had already up and running, we loaded that spreadsheet in, took a little tweaking because it was really big, but now our members can text 24 hours a day, what's the for sale sign regulation in this town? And they get an instant answer back that is 100% accurate based on what we have in that document. So now we're experiencing similar issues about short-term rental regulations. So we built a database of all the on-the-books for short-term rental regulations. So now when agents at a house with a client who's saying, hey, this is great, it's on a beautiful lake, could I Airbnb this? They can go, hey, what are the short-term rental regulations in this town? And they get an instant answer from what's on the town's code. And that concept can go pretty much anywhere. So now when I'm talking to agents day to day, I ask them, what would you like to see in RD? And just the other day, somebody said, every one of the 100 lakes in our service area has a different set of regulations for docks and moorings. It'd be super helpful to have that in there. So we have just been looking for these kind of weird data sets that our staff can put together and deliver it out to RD so that the agent is the expert on as many things as possible instantly in front of their client. And I think if we can do that, there's not an agent in our area who wouldn't want GRIR on their side when they're in this business, and that's really good for member retention and member satisfaction. So Kurtis mentioned the livestock. I don't know why it's important, but we have tons of people ask about how many chickens can I have or how many livestock can I have. But start thinking about anything you could deliver to the agents that's kind of weird like that. In it goes. And once it's in, it's in. We build really good walls around it so it doesn't hallucinate. It doesn't go to the general internet and guess. So our members can rely on the information because we put it in. And to me, that's a game changer for member support. Is that the last slide? All right.
I believe it's the last slide. It also works in 25 or 26 different languages, which is probably important that we should have mentioned at some point. But
it is important, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Depending on your market, some markets are that's more important than others. But I had a conversation with one of my peers who had an office that was, the agents only spoke Mandarin. The only person who spoke English was the broker, and was constantly getting grief from that office that you don't do anything for us. Why we're paying all this money and you don't do anything for us? So with a tool like Artie, you put your documents in, and suddenly everything that you provide to any agent is now available to every agent in 26 languages. Instantly. And that's another huge member support tool. And in this age where, MLS or association or tech vendor, everybody needs to be answerable to their agents or their subscribers. And we have support documents. Why would we not make them available to everybody in their native language? All right.
cool, guys. Thank you very much.
We're getting back on time. If anybody has any questions, we'll hang out in the back after this. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.